In life, we all have to live with the hand that we're dealt with. Some of us are born into poverty. Some of us cannot grasp theoretical concepts as quickly and easily as others, and some of us are not so good with numbers. But along the way, we discover our strengths, which make up for our disadvantages. Now imagine losing one of your 5 senses and having to perform your job or schoolwork as well as someone who has all 5 senses working. How would you begin to address a challenge like that in pursuing your self-actualization, your career ambitions and goals? 285 million people worldwide are visually impaired, and 90% of that number lives in developing countries like ours, according to statistics compiled by the World Health Organization in June 2012. The reasons for their visual impairment are often preventable or treatable, but due to lack of resources, they find themselves having to live with their disability. In previous shows, we've managed to present the case of bright individuals who are not able to live out their dreams and further their careers because of their disabilities. However, we're happy to report that there are certain employers who have turned against the tide and are embracing people with disabilities. These employers enable disabled people to contribute economically to Botswana's development. They also do not believe that this contribution should be the privilege of only the lucky ones. By truly appreciating that disability is not inability, these companies have set the bar high for corporate Botswana and give hope to people living with the challenge of physical disabilities who continue to be shunned by other corporate entities. Tonight on First Issues, we speak to Benjamin Moara and Fredrick Ntongwa, commonly known as Fred, who've been given the opportunity to exercise their abilities and provide for their families. They both lost their sight in different ways, and through the support of their families and organizations geared towards assisting those living with visual impairment, they both studied switchboard operation and managed to secure employment within the F&B Botswana group. Fred, a married man of 4 children and currently residing in Mopan with his family, was born with partial blindness and gradually became full visual impairment. It was due to a hereditary condition that he found himself blind at a young age. However, it was not known at the time what was the cause of his impairment. It was after visiting specialists in South Africa, after 4 of his children were also born visually impaired, that they discovered that it was a genetic cause. Benjamin Moara has been a switchboard operator for 10 years and is known for always going the extra mile for his clients. Born in 1974 in Ntongwa, he contracted measles at the age of 5 years, which rendered him blind. First Issues caught up with Benjamin and Fred to discuss their triumphs and challenges as visually impaired people in the corporate world. I'm Shadi Lindsay, and welcome to First Issues. Our guests tonight, Benjamin Moara from Ntongwa and Fredrick Ntongwa from Jackalas No. 2, are both visually impaired and are some of the very lucky people living with disabilities to have been offered jobs. But what did they have to go through to secure their current jobs?
It was difficult because in the first place, for a disabled person to get a job in this industry, it's a hassle. So I had to really fight to get this job, because at first, after I finished my course at Pulokong, I stayed with one of the ex-employees here called Nelson, and we stayed at Habane, and he was the first one to be called here. He applied, and when they saw how he was doing, that's when I was invited to come here to apply for this job.
Can you take us through the process of the application?
I went to Finance House, and it was the first time for me to apply for a job. And at first I did not know what to say, though they were telling me I should in the papers it was written that we should explain our courses and all the like, but it was difficult. I went through, it was Mr. Magdan, I went through to his office, and I applied orally because we use Braille, and there by then 2000 technology was not as it is now. So he asked me questions, and I was a bit frightened, but I just told myself, well, God is there, and I answered all the questions, and I went back home. I was very, very happy when I was called to come to join FNB.
Ke apply le me go apply ga me ne le gore gona le mongwe o re neng a tsena le rona re le mmogo ko Pulokong, then ha re ntse re batla di attachment a ba tla touchiwa kwano nna ne ke attachitswe ko JOCV ka ha African Mall ke company ya Japan. So after that ila sona ba ke attachwa ke hetsa bo ba sa ntse ba tiano be ke ipotsa hore he go ha but o neng a attachitswe kwano bo ba motsa then le nna be ke akanya hore ya me le nna gore nka khona me motho o go leka lesego ba be ke itlhala ke le gone.
Both our guests lost their sight through different ways, but through the support of their families and organizations geared towards assisting those living with visual impairment, they managed to study switchboard operation and secure employment within the FNB Botswana group. We asked them what was going through their minds as they entered the interview room.
I was really frightened, as I said. But to me, it was more difficult because I was disabled. That's what I'm disabled. That's what really went into my mind, that maybe I cannot be successful because of my visual impairment. But as the questions went on, because I answered them confidently, I told myself that no, but bad luck or good luck, I have to get this job.
Vision kana tse di tla bong di batla gore gongwe motho ka bo bona gore ha o tshwara yang o tshwara yang me hela mo gongwe mo ne ke ne ke sa ipelaele.
Both Ben and Fred have managed to do this job just as well as somebody who can see. We asked them what kind of challenges do they face that somebody who is not visually impaired doesn't usually have to deal with.
It's a challenge because as a visually impaired person, as I'm answering the switchboard, like now I'm picking a call, it was Fred speaking, how may I help you? And then the customer will want me to get a message, and then I will refer to this machine called Perkins Brailler. I have to say to talk to the customer that I'm getting a message. Maybe they didn't get any response from where they were calling, and I have to type the name of the customer, and then the message, and then as I'm doing this, there's a call going through. I have to try and pick this call up. West Bank Fred speaking, and then I have to answer that customer and then get back to that message that I was writing so that I write it in full. And it's difficult because as the sighted person is better because they've got a pen and it's just easy. They get the message and then write and then continue. But to me, I'm using two hands, and you have to be more faster and really concentrative, because otherwise you lose a customer or you make a mistake, you cut the customer off, the customer calls back, then you are in a serious problem.
The challenges that I face, maybe the facility that I'm using, someone has to log the computer on for me to go to work, but hela apart from that because ba leka gore ba ntsenye mo sengwe le sengwe se se buiwang ke nne update.
What is the general attitude towards our guests when their colleagues and customers realize that they're visually impaired?
Yeah, sometimes they don't believe, because if they want a certain number, let me check it for you, then about just like anybody oka lebang hela gore me ke lebe mo pampiring ke bona gore yanong ba utlwa ke mmolelela, then ha gongwe go etle go tle mo gore gongwe ba botsa so se tlhokagalang gore gongwe se batle vision be yanong be ke motlhalosetse kere na nka e ka khona go bona gongwe me ke go sendele email o tlo o ire yang batla pene o tlo o kwa le ho yanong be ke khona gore ke motlhalosetse kere ke nyame ga ke khone go bona be le gore yanong o ipotsa gore a me ke nnete yanong be re tsa le ba ka yanong a dule mo topicing e nna e le ditsele gore yanong o interested mo go sa se utlwile mme ke khonne go mo ha kana ke khonne go mo thusa ka se nang a se batla.
They don't believe it. Some of them really want to see me. Some of them really want to see me. Some of them come to the office and see me. They don't believe it. They just think that, no, maybe I'm just joking. Because, a customer can ask you a question that will lead you to tell him or her that, no, I'm visually impaired. Maybe saying for example, when they call saying, my number is that one on the screen, and you have to say, no, my dear customer, I'm visually impaired. And say, I don't believe it. But how fast, how do you do it very fast like that? I said, no, it's because of the confidence and the way I was trained, and because I feel that I have to really satisfy you as a customer.
285 million people worldwide are visually impaired, and 90% of them live in developing countries such as ours. This is according to statistics compiled by the World Health Organization in June of 2012. What is the biggest misconception that people have about visually impaired people? This is the question we asked Fred when we went to his house in Mopane.
People believe that visually impaired people are a burden. They are a burden because they don't know, they cannot clean themselves, they cannot make their yards clean, they don't have kids. They are just a burden. There's nothing that they can do for themselves. And they believe that the visual impairment is something, sort of a disease that can be transmitted somehow. And you know, they seem to seriously discriminate us because of such issues. They would not think that you'd have kids like, as you see my kids here. They think, if you have a kid with a visually impaired person, then he will, it's obviously you'll get visually impaired and the kid too and whatever. What they have got negative thinkings about this disability.
A long time ago, like real. Because at this juncture, everybody is trying to bring us to the train. So ha ke akanyora me gona le se banemba se gompieno ba ka sa akanyang gore gongwe ga se sa siamang ka rona. Like for example, kana pele nera how bo ba akanya gore gongwe kana sengwe wena ga go kwa se khona kana wa reng kana bo ngo motho be ra akanya gore like nako ke go letseng teng people had difficulties with sharing the plate with me. But no, but mona ko nya gompieno nna ke akanya gore mongwe le mongwe o siame go ka amogela motho o nang le bogole ba matlho. Ga ke bone problem ya teng nna hela gompieno ke ra ka haksetseng ke gore ke lebile le ditsala tse ke nang le tsone all over ba khona gore dumedisa hela motho ha shy gore a go dumedisa ga gare ga batho like go ne go ka diragala pele.
Can you tell us a bit more of how your first day on the job was?
It was difficult at first because I had to memorize the number, but ne ke siki di tshware sentle and ne ke nna ke referra ko bathong ba ke neng ke bereka le bone ka tsamaya lo gonna go le dingalo ke tshwantse gore ke a customer a batle motho ke sa itse gore ko kae tla bo ke simolla gore ke tse buka ke bo ke batla number, then customer o tla bantsa hela pelo ha ke ntse ke batla bana ke mo ke re no tla ke check ke sa itse le gore ko departmenteng ye, then go bo ntsa ya ka diralo ngo for 3 weeks ke ntse ke diralo ya na go mo go lwana me batla ko gona nthar no me ka re solela re ano mo bo tshwere tiro ka gore o tshwantse re yana go hapana kana go nne le nako ya lunch ano ke be ke tshwanna ke gore I had to lie ka gore ke ne ke sa batle go lose go ya ka haneng ke bolela ka teng gore if I lose or they don't take any favor I ke sa khone ke apala so ke ma ke no ke a khona but no go le bokete.
My first day at West Bank, especially because at FNB it was better because I was with someone who was training me. But my first day at work, I was with a woman called Mrs. Moji. She was training me, but because she thought that I knew the job, she wanted me to really feel confident. And it was difficult because, you know, customers would feel they would feel frustrated whenever I had to maybe slow down a bit to ask some of the few things that I didn't know from Mrs. Muji. But it terrified me so much because sometimes I would be very fast and sometimes I would cut the customer off the phone. And when they called, I would find another way of apologizing. And you see, it was very, very difficult for me. But one thing that made me feel confident was that customers really didn't notice what was happening behind the line. So it really gave me confidence, because every now and then they said, but you speak nicely, you talk very nicely on the phone.
What impact has securing this job had on our guests, personally, on their families, and other people who are living with disabilities?
For those who are living with disabilities, I think it gives them ba santse ba le ko sekweleng go ba ga banna le tsholehelo ya gore le bone gore ba tla khona. Then for mo di family le gone ke tsa gore ga gongwe kere gona le gore bogongwe bo go tonya yo kana go di family gantsi la ithela mongwe a le hale go tonya yo ke motho wa ga government wa re o tla tlhokomela ke government yano impact e nang le bone e ba itsitse mo go bonang ke gore le bone ba na le hope ya gore le nna gompieno ke kgona gore re isiwa go tonya mme kana re tshwantse go kole ka ragele ragele mangwana go ntlu kana kole kan le dirana le nna ke le mo teng.
What impact has securing a job had on your family and on you personally, as well as for other people living with disabilities?
It has done a lot, because now it has secured my family, and I don't depend on my parents. I obviously I look after myself, and it has given me a lot of achievements, because I managed to go far and to experience a lot of things because of this job that I got. And towards the other disabled people, I think it benefits a lot, because when they see us going to jobs, they believe that they too can do that. They don't give up. They believe that, no, as we can see our colleagues going to work every day, that means we can do it too.
How do you manage to do certain day-to-day tasks that we take for granted, such as going shopping, getting to work, etc.?
Getting to work, there's someone that I have to go with at work and then come back. But sometimes when things are difficult, I have to find for myself, because at work, when they employ you, you'd never say. They will tell you even in the contract that we expect you to be at work. So they don't look at disability as such. They just look at you as a normal, as a physically fit person, as any employee. So I have to be at work, really. I have to try and be at work.
Shopping?
Shopping, when I go around shopping, I have to be with someone. But most instances, I confirm, because I have to feel what I'm buying. If I want to buy food, then I have to feel if that's 10 kg. And if I want to buy a T-shirt or whatever, I have to know that this is the T-shirt I need, or this is the trouser I need. So I have to confirm it, though I have someone who's sighted, but I have to really confirm with my hands.
How do you continue to motivate people who are visually impaired to be self-sufficient and to chase their dreams?
I would like to say to them, this world is full of challenges. The challenges are the same, even with the physically fit people. It's the same. What we can do is just to strive and pull and push, and try and achieve what other people achieve, and have a brighter future. We don't have to stay home and say, no, there's somebody who's going to come our way and get us a job or whatever. We have to struggle so that we get the job, because it's not easy in this industry to get a job. Like any other person, it's not easy, and with us, it's more challenging. So what we have to do is just to strive, struggle and push, and really go forward. We will find we will get what we want.
Very encouraging words from Fred. Let us hear what Ben has to say as a word of motivation and wisdom.
First thing, to motivate them, I would like them to practice very hard to be independent, particularly more mobility. I get over then you must force yourself. But try to walk by yourself. ha gore re se senye ke tsamayana mme gape o se ka tlhabiwa ke ditlhong gore wa timela because life outside is not ga e tshwane le ha o santse o le mo sekoleng o se ka tshaba go anapa. That is how ha o tla ke buana ke gore nna nako a ke na le bo 21 bo ne ke le one thobane ne ke sa tsamaya ka yone gore ne ke ithakere gongwe ke batla go tsamaya ka mongwe le mongwe but hela nako ya botshelo ntse e tsamaya e be mpolela gore now you've got to take this stick gore wena o nne independent, walk by yourself. A ke gore o ka kgona but a motho a go thusa yo batlang go thusa a go thusetse o le kae o le ko gongwe somewhere, not taking you from home to work then ha go chaisiwa batla go tsaya mo tirong a go isa ko lapeng.
Just like you and I, these men have dreams, ambitions, and goals in life, and they do not use their disability as an excuse. They manage to support themselves and their families and challenge misconceptions about their disability. It looks like Fred's children are inspired by their father's achievements and have already set goals for themselves at a very early age. They are the twins Zion and Ian, and their baby brother Lion, who are all students in Muchudi. Coming up next is our market review done by Thapele Taylor from the Botswana Stock Exchange.
The domestic company index, which you normally refer to as DCI, increased by 1.6%. That translates into 3.6% for the year. The foreign company index remained flat, but on a year-to-date basis, it's still on the negative at 0.2%. The total value of shares traded is 26.5 million shares, and this translates into on average about 6.6 million shares traded every day here. This is made up of about 9.1 million shares.
We hope that tonight's show has shown you that you can triumph despite the hand that you are dealt. There's no excuse for not living your dream. I'm Shadi Lindsay, and have yourself a good night.